I think that brings us quite nicely. I think the first kind of major film is obviously Knock at the Cabin, which I cannot speak about, which is great. And obviously, Cam, I don't think you watched it, but me, Tyler, and George did. We'll stick it to our resident M. Night biggest fan, George Carmy.
All right.
Lots
First
of
off,
M. Night discourse this week.
Too much M. Night discourse. It's hurting my brain. But can I just clarify? I don't hate M. Night. I have 5 of his movies rated a 3.5 or above. Like, I think he's made some good films. I just also think he's made some stinkers, and I can't believe that's like a take people want to threaten me about. But whatever.
Hey, George. Hey, George.
What, bro?
I think he's made some really shitty movies, and they're like absolute shit. But he's a fine person, I'm sure. So
Listen,
I'll back you up there.
He's a nice dude. He's a cool dude. Whatever. I love Split.
Like, he could have pissed on tape, and I would have considered that better than The Last Airbender or After Earth. So there you go.
All right, but we'll okay. I'm not harping too much on
Come
that.
after me, people.
Let's just talk about Knock at the Cabin. I like Knock at the Cabin. Like, genuinely, I've seen 8 movies this year. It's currently my number 1 ranked movie. I really like that. It's incredibly tight. It's a very, locked in screenplay. It's just 7 people in a room. The entire time this movie was going on, in my head, I was like, what is he going to do? Like, what is he going to do that's going to make me hate this movie? He's going to do some typical M. Night fuckery that's going to really turn me off. And it never happened. And I was actually genuinely really happy about that. I know, Seth, you saw the movie like 3 or 4 days before I did. You were telling me that I was going to enjoy the movie for that reason.
Yeah.
And you are absolutely correct, because it was just a very dialed in screenplay. There were, Tyler, I know you argue that there really wasn't like a standout performance, but I really like the performances across the board. I don't think any of them were revolutionary, but I think they just did what they needed to do. And that was just suck me in emotionally and really lock me into the screenplay. I think Dave Bautista is a really good actor.
Yeah, I agree. Like, this debate needs to end now about wrestler actor, because it is just.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought it was a debate, but like it's so odd, like seeing like musicians turn to actors, WWE wrestlers turn to actors, and a lot of them flop. Like Ice Cube is good, he's good for what he needs to do. Yeah, in like stupid comedies, but like Dave Bautista can genuinely act, and it just truly shocks me. So I was really like blown away by his performance. I think he was just the standout of the movie.
Did you not think he was really good? What's his name?
Ben Aldridge.
It's not.
Yeah, Ben Aldridge was.
I think he was really good.
Yeah,
well,
I think across the board, everyone like. I don't think there was a false note in the acting. I don't think anyone was genuinely bad. I think others stood out more than others, but there was no part of the acting that I disliked.
Yeah.
They did the most they could with bad dialogue, and yes, I'll get into it. I know a lot of people argue that the dialogue is, bad on purpose. I truly just don't understand those arguments. Like, even if it was on purpose, like, to me, it's still poor dialogue. I don't think this was as poor as it was in like The Village. I just watched The Village like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the dialogue in that movie just really turned me off.
I'm surprised you didn't like The Village. I thought you'd like that one.
I
thought you'd have The Village over The Visit, but you have The Visit over The Village, don't you?
Listen, I'm a sucker for that found footage horror, man. So
yeah, I
thought The Village was so good. I remember watching that movie just like in bed, just creeped out, like under my covers. And I was like, oh, this is a disgustingly horrifying movie.
I like that film.
Yeah. I really like that movie. So overall, 3.5 out of 5, which again, for an M. Night movie, that's a W. I walked out very pleased. I walked out very entertained. I like the fact that when I walked out, there was a lot of things up for interpretation, and maybe if we're getting into spoilers a bit later, we could talk about it. But I walked out, and Victoria was asking me, "Oh, well, what did you think?" Like, again, I don't want to get the spoilers, so I'm not going to say anything. But I like the fact that it made me talk. So 3.5 out of 5, number 1 movie of the year so far.
What did Victoria give it?
I think she gave it a 3.5 out of 5 as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
She gave the Pamela Anderson documentary a 5 out of 5.
Interesting. Valid. I need to watch that, I actually want to. Just before I kick over to you, Tyler, it does surprise me. I know it's M9. I know people are like, not, this is the thing, like when we speak about this M Night discourse, people are like, oh, you hate him, blah, blah, blah. But George, you give him you give it a 3.5. A lot of people, even if they like the film, will just give it like a lower score because it's M. Night. I feel like a lot of the time.
Yeah, but like everyone says, like it's my personal bias, like making me rate M. Night movies lower than like what I should. It's like
yeah, exactly, and you give it
like,
higher than the average score.
Yeah, like listen. I don't like The Happening. I don't like The Last Airbender. I don't like After Earth. What do you want me to say? You want me to lie and tell you they're good to your face? Like, no. If I don't like something, I'm going to tell you I don't like it.
Yeah, I definitely get it. I'm just surprised because I think, like I was saying before, like I said to you, this to me is his most sort of kind of straightforward thriller. There is obviously the M. Night thing there with his style and whatever, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. That's fair enough. But for me, this is like very accessible for his films. Like compare this to Old, for example. I'm surprised this is now as divisive as it seems to be anyway, because I've seen people hate this, I've seen people love this. I just think it's a straightforward, just a good thriller. It just does the job really well. Tyler, obviously, I'll speak about it after. Tyler, what did you think?
Yeah, so, of course, Knock at the Cabin's about Dave Bautista and his colleagues show up at a cabin remotely in the woods, and he tells this family, it's a gay couple and their adopted child, basically says you have to make a sacrifice, otherwise the world's going to end, and that's kind of how we start getting going. And then from there, it's almost like a true play, basically, because it takes place just in the house, and there's just a few people in there. Ben Aldridge and Dave Bautista, I definitely thought were the standouts. I didn't think anyone was aggressively bad, but the other ones I didn't really care for, like specifically Rupert Grint. I don't know. I feel like at times he sounded like he had the most normal American accent, and then he would go to like a Southern accent. So either one, he's just like not great at accents and not the greatest like actor in that respect. Or B, and this is probably what like the M. Night defenders would say, they'd be like, well, his backstory is actually very muddy. Like, he's in a bar in Boston, but also he says he works down in the South. So maybe he's been lying about his personality. So maybe really he's a normal American accent, but he's purposely trying to do a Southern accent to try and make it sound like he's not that same guy from the bar in Boston. So I'm like, that's just totally what like an M. Night defender would say, because they're going to always find like an excuse.
That was very in detail. Have you seen that before? Because that was like a very...
No, because I'm just so in my head of like M. Night defenders that anything I can think of wrong, I'm like, what would they say to justify this? And that's what they would say.
I understand that. Yeah.
I feel like this whole movie is based on the tension and the claustrophobic atmosphere, and if that works for you, and it just didn't for me. Like I was at a screening on Tuesday. I was looking at my watch every 5-10 minutes. I was quite bored during the movie.
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly. Like my girlfriend loved it, and I know a lot of people love it. Well, she didn't like love it, but she liked it more than me. And I know pretty much everyone who sees it's like generally liking it. And like we said, it's his most accessible film. People say it's his most accessible film since Sixth Sense. I think it might just be his most accessible film, period. There's a lot of religious stuff in it, so that might... Is Cam like playing fetch with his baby right now? I don't even know, but
dog.
His baby.
I think he's on dog duty right now.
But yeah, so it was very accessible. It was very straightforward. I kind of wish there was a twist, and there's a couple... I don't know. There's a couple other things I want to mention, like if we get into like brief spoilers, and I'm not going to get into spoilers right now, but I just feel like my biggest problem is it just... I don't know if I don't know how to put this, but I feel like it didn't really respect the viewer much because it was so accessible. Like, I feel like it was very obvious what the point and like the overtones and what story he was trying to tell here. And then like it's very obvious, and after that it just like slaps you in the face and just straight out like says it verbatim on the like this is who we are. And I'm like, we got that, dude. Like I don't know. I just felt like it just was very ham-handed in its messaging.
Do you think that's a bad thing?
Can I ask something?
Yeah. Go on.
Wait, are you Nah. Let me know when we get to spoilers.
Okay.
I'm just going to give my thoughts on that.
The man who hasn't seen it says, before I say anything, I don't want to spoil. Go ahead, Seth. I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it a little bit more than you. I didn't love it, but I really enjoyed it. I will say, I think one thing that M. Night is stronger in like all his films, in my personal opinion, of course, is the camera work in his films. I think the shot selection, I think some of the shots in that, especially when he's, the chase sequence when he's like in the car and he's trying to get the gun, she's coming at him. Mm-hmm. That was intense. I really, really enjoyed that scene. I actually thought Rupert Grint was pretty good, but then again, I can't distinguish American accents that well, so you'll probably be better at that than me. I don't think he was a standout. I think, is it Ben Aldridge, did you say?
Yeah.
Ben Aldridge, yeah, I think he and Bautista were really good. I had a really good time with it. I think the ending, I was kind of expecting, when it ended, I was like, oh, so that was it then. Like, I kind of like knew that was going to happen, I guess. But I don't know if that kind of knocks it back, because then if he had have tried to do this really like absurd thing, would that have made me enjoy it a little bit less? I don't know. I think it just worked as pretty straightforward, which isn't what we're used to with him, because he does weird shit a lot of the time, which is worse for you. Don't I think a lot of like M Night fans, I'm assuming, might not like this as much as his other films, because it isn't as it doesn't stand out as much, does it? Like, a lot of directors could have done this, maybe not with the camera work, but a lot of directors could have done this. But I really, really enjoyed it. I give it a 4 out of 5. We can touch on some spoilers if you want, if anyone wants to go into anything in particular. I'm assuming the ending will be the main talking point here. George, I know you said that you had a few ideas about the ending and stuff like that, so I'll kick it over to you first.
Yeah, no. So once they got into like the whole like 4 horsemen of the apocalypse stuff, I like fully.
Sorry, that's what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
So sorry, real quick, and then I'll mute again. I was gonna ask if like the big reveal was that they were like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, because I saw a video that's like on TikTok that was like, you may not understand, but these are actually the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Anytime there's 4 characters in a movie that has anything to do with God or anything like that, it's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. There's nothing else with 4 people in the Bible. It's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So that just really pissed me off, because I'm like, you saw the trailer and you knew that. So
yeah, and just to quickly just button that up for
to
you.
your point,
Yeah,
I was a little
ahead.
like,
you're muted, Tyler. Sorry.
Oh.
I was just gonna say I was like a little like upset that I didn't piece that together faster, that they were the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. But at the same time, once they like revealed that, and being an M. Night movie, the only thing I could think of was This Is the End, that Jonah Hill comedy. And I was fully expecting some like dumb shit to happen where like the earth splits open and some monster with a massive donger pulls up or something.
I would love that though.
Like, I was like, once they mentioned the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, I was like, okay, where is this going? Like, what sort of dumbassery is M. Night about to pull on his screen? And I just thought, like, I don't even know if I would call it like a subversion of expectation, just because it's M. Night, and like, my expectations were, for him to like do something like that. But I don't know. Once the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse came into the picture, I was like, okay, something dumb is going to happen. And then the question that, me and Victoria were going back and forth with after the movie was, do we think they were truly the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, or do you think they were just a suicidal pact on Reddit and everything that happened in the outside world was just a crazy coincidence? I guess that's for you guys to answer.
I think it was. I think they were. I don't know if this might be a one where there's actually not that much to it. Do you know what I mean? You're getting what you're getting. Like, these are 4 apocalypse. Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. It's very straightforward.
I think it's like what you said. Like, with M. Night's film, especially this one, it is kind of down to your interpretation as to whether it was a crazy coincidence, whether they were just this crazy cult, whatever it was. But yeah, I'd probably lean towards just that is what it was. That's who they were. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, kind of like Cam mentioned, how like when there's 4 people in a story and it's a very, very religious story and apocalyptic, first your mind immediately goes 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And then from there, you see all 4 of them have completely different personalities. So like one is like Rupert Grint is very much like savage, wants to kill, like not good in the head. He's like getting into bar fights. He's homophobic. He's, just everything that's bad.
Rupert Grint in that role? Because I feel like I look at Rupert Grint and I don't think of him like, a guy who wants to kill or anything.
Were you muted like 10 minutes ago whenever we spoke about it?
No, I mean, like, I heard you say you liked it, but I didn't hear anyone else's take. I didn't know what
he looked fine in the role. Like, he just had a scraggly beard, like flannel.
I didn't know what kind of role he was doing, but I mean, there's just the Harry Potter effect. Every time I see Rupert Grint, I just think Ron.
Well, I actually said that after I watched the film. I was worried that with Rupert Grint, it's not like Daniel Radcliffe where he's kind of managed to pave his own way, has he really? Mm-hmm. I see him in projects and I'm like, okay, it's Ron.
Right.
I actually didn't get that impact, which I think is an accomplishment in itself, because that's the character he's always associated with. I didn't feel that. I just thought it was quite good, to be honest.
But yeah, so going into it, when you see 4 people, you assume 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And from there, each of them is very different. So you're kind of like, okay, like one's like the caretaker, she's the nurse. Oh, let me help you. Like, and like they all just like clearly start to go down the 4 different paths. And you're like, okay, clearly the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And then Batista's literally just like stares him right in the face, like, we are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. I'm like, dude, we knew that from the trailer, guy. Like, I just felt like it didn't respect the viewer in that way. Like, it was very ham-handed. And, but yeah, like, I don't know. It was interesting because one thing you were touching on is like, are they actually the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, or are they some Reddit group? And that's what I think was one of the good themes of this movie. Like, a cool theme was there's a lot of groupthink. It's like, what do you actually believe? These people all met in weird circumstances, all from different areas of the world and different walks of life, but they all kind of came together. So that makes you immediately think like they're really into the apocalypse and they're just all a bunch of random people who don't know each other. Like they're probably just some, people that met on some message board and started talking and their theories ran wild and they just got carried away. So the whole movie basically, and like as the apocalyptic events happen, it goes from like you can rationalize it maybe to less so to like, okay, clearly like this world, like something's going on here. So since it kind of took that slow, gradual progression, you yourself as a viewer is kind of like, are they just like, conspiracy theorists making stuff up, or like is clearly the apocalypse happened? So I kind of like that part of it. The best part of the movie by far for me is it starts right away. Like right away they show up, right away it gets going.
Literally.
I totally thought this was going to be like they're going to be at the cabin for 20 minutes. Like there's some flashbacks of this, but like, hanging in the pool, like drinking some lemonade, having fun. And like 20 minutes later, someone knocks on the door. Like I was
going to ask
fully.
you actually, what did you two think of the use of the flashbacks, and did it kind of have an impact on you in terms of the emotional resonance of the story, connections at all? Did it just not do anything? Because I've heard both sides from many people.
It didn't do much for me, honestly. I don't think, as much as I enjoyed these characters and watched them, I think their lack of depth just kind of prevented me from having a true emotional attachment to them. And I think that flashbacks try to do that so that when we get to that like final scene of like making a decision, it would have more of an emotional impact. But I don't think it served its purpose as well as M. Night maybe intended it to.
The only thing I did like about the flashbacks was the fighting, because I feel like I was like, okay, at least they explained that. Like the dude, because like early on he's like full on like doing 1-2 combos, piecing up this dude, fighting them, and then I'm like, okay, so he's been training like for the past 7 years religiously fighting. So at least they explained that. That's the only flashback I was like,
just out of nowhere he just becomes.
I mean, so many movies do that though, where like someone gets him. It's fight or flight, so all of a sudden I'm gonna come Conor McGregor. Like, okay.
Yeah. Not current Conor McGregor, prime Conor McGregor.
True.
He was better than current Conor McGregor. Just want to throw that out there. Also, by the way, I did actually forget to mention this on my week. I watched UFC this morning at 6:30 in the morning. As in, I woke up.
Yeah, 6:30.
I've never seen anything like it because it was South Korean time.
Oh,
because for the Korean
fans.
It was meant to be in Korea, and then they couldn't schedule it in time. So instead, what they did is just had it in Vegas, but then had it at like George, like 3 a.m. like Eastern time.
Yeah, so weird over the fighters.
Yeah, I know, it was really odd. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that
out. That benefits no one.
It was, well, to be fair, it's because there was a lot of Korean fighters on the card, and obviously it helps them out, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, in terms of their fan base, their families, whatever. Yeah, I liked it because I got sleep beforehand, and I got to wake up and then watch it. Benefits me.
There was one thing I wanted to mention about the ending is, like, I get it, maybe there's like a cute scene, but like the ending with the car radio, I hated that, and I would punch my kid straight in the face.
Yeah.
I would be like, I sacrificed the wrong person. Like if you like the fact like even if I didn't just have to like there's full on spoilers, okay, I'm sorry. Even if I didn't have to kill my partner, if my kid just in general, if I turn off the radio and my kid turns it on, even if my day is going amazingly, I'd be like, I'm not an abusive father, but you're testing me right now. And like the fact that like he literally just killed his partner and freaking like his kids just like, let's just keep playing music, and he's like, stop, I don't want this right now, and they just keep turning it on, turning it off. I get that it's supposed to be this emotional tug of war, like we got like it's a cute song because we're remembering him, and like it's kind of putting a big bow on the story, but like I don't know, I was like, this scene's just kind of cheesy and annoying. They're trying to make this needle drop something cool, but it's
I drove home in silence after Son. You want to tell me that this man's got to put on some music after killing his husband or his partner? Like, come on.
Yeah,
also, when they told the little girl to go up to the treehouse so that they can like talk as the adults, I so expected a plane to just smoke that treehouse.
Or like a lightning strike. That would have
Oh
been.
my
The
god!
lightning strike.
I expected something to happen that was gonna like throw one of the partners over the edge and just pop one of them in the face. And I thought it was gonna be a plane melting that cabin or that the treehouse,
Treehouse,
Oh.
yeah.
which would have been so funny, but so fucked.
But yeah, we liked it. 4 from me, 3 Tyler,
Mm-hmm.
and then 3.5 from George.
Look at
So
that, all
around-
different. Someone commented saying we give every movie the same score. None of us scored this one the
That-
same.
Can I
Oh,
just say,
I
we score
swear.
things differently all the time.
It's always me. The amount of comments I see that say, "Oh, you and Seth gave the exact same score." I'm like, just look at our letterboxes. Like they're public. No, we don't.
It's crazy one.